No,
And how many?
that's a very, very intriguing and very interesting segue about the Social Security and disability. There's so much. I know there is so much that you have to say, and I wish we had time to go so deep into this, because I see how emotional it is for you, and I see how it has affected your life. But we do have to go to Nancy. But I'm sitting here listening to you, listening to your story, and it's intriguing to me, and it literally tugs at me, and I thank you for sharing all that. That is just incredible, and that's meant obviously not in a good way. It's meant that it's just unbelievable. Hang on a second there, if you will. Nancy Maney is also with us. There's a bunch of people here today. Nancy Maney is with us, and she's the author of My Billion-Year Contract, the memoir of a former Scientologist, which offers a bird's-eye view into the very secret aspects of the Scientology organization. And Deborah, I believe you had a show note about this.
I do. What we're doing in this first segment is to move the stories as fast as we can, and so we're not trying to be rude if we sort of move it into the next segment, but it's just that at about 8:30 my time, about an hour from now, everything will open up and we'll have more of an open forum so we can dig deeper into this stuff. And so we also are not taking calls until that open forum part begins, because we want everybody to be able to tell their stories.
Oh yes, absolutely. Please don't take that as trying to not hear what you have to say. We're very interested in what you have to say, but we do have a limited amount of time, and we have X number of people that are part of the show.
Right. Well, Nancy is unmuted right now, so here we go.
Nancy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Hi. Hey, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We do appreciate your time and the attention that you're giving us. I know you're very busy. I did want to ask you one thing. Wondering if you would tell us a little bit about your thoughts on child care organizations.
First of all, the overall view of child care, and I come first from just being an executive in Scientology. In their lead organization, Sate talked about the one where you sign the billion-year contract. And before I became pregnant with my own son, there were many situations with children that were in Scientology. There are a litany of horror stories I could share with you, but I won't, because one will do. And basically there was, in Los Angeles was the largest concentration of children. So Hubbard decided that the parents, first of all, the parents weren't allowed time to see their children. They got 1 hour at meal times to visit with their children. That's in a 24-hour day, basically 7 days a week. That's the amount of parent-child time that was allowed.
Wow.
So these children are growing up completely unsupervised and wild. Hubbard did some investigations into it, and he decided, or discovered, quote-unquote, that the parents didn't care about their kids. He never brought up the fact that the parents never had time to see their kids. He just adjudicated that the parents weren't taking care of their own children. So he started this brand new organization called the Cadet Organization, and this was an organization for children and run by children, sort of like a little Lord of the Flies kind of thing. And these children, Scientology children, don't get an education. It's considered that if they study Scientology, that's all they'll need, because that's what's really important. So you have these children running wild in the streets of Los Angeles. They had horrific living situations for the children. the children did not sleep with their parents. I mean, the parents only had that 1 hour a day called family time.
Wow. Did they not realize the importance of education and nurturing and all that? You know, I've got kids and grandkids. I can't imagine only spending an hour a day with my children.
Children in Scientology are considered adults in little bodies. They're considered adults in little bodies. When this is skipping a little bit forward, but the second time I was sent to the Rehabilitation Project Force, the gulag that Sauté talked about, I had a 2.5, almost 3-year-old son. And my husband and I were both sent under guard to this other building across town where we weren't allowed to even talk to each other, let alone see our son. And we were told if we were really good, that after 2 weeks of being really good, we could see our son for 20 minutes 3 days out of the week. So basically 1 hour a week would be allowed.
Wow.
That is just unconscionable.
It is, absolutely. I can't even imagine that.
Believe me, my jaw was on the floor, and I was just like, how can I get out of here and go get my son? In trying to get me to stay, these other Scientology women who, I must say that it's a turn of the words, but they drank the Kool-Aid, shall we say. And they would tell me these stories about how my little boy was really this eternal spiritual being, and he was responsible for his own condition. So if something bad happened to him, it was his fault. This is at the age of 2.5.
Oh.
And I said, well, I don't think so. And she went on to explain to me with her child, when she was 3, she got under the kitchen cabinet and into some poison. Now, this was the child's fault, because she was a spiritual being and should have known better.
Oh, my goodness. And that just leaves a door open to all sorts of things.
And that is the core bottom line value within Scientology towards children. That leads to a better understanding of why abortions are no big deal. It leads to a better understanding of why children are asked to join the contract for 1 billion years as young as the age of 10. They're not children, and this is why Katie Holmes was so lucky to have gotten her daughter out of that environment before she became of an age in which she would be indoctrinated. We did escape. My husband and I did escape the next day, and it wasn't easy to do. And as of this time period, right now, as we speak, there are people locked up across the world in these thought reform camps. And while we were under guard and had to really do a whole master plan to get out of there to go get our son back, these people can't even do that. There are cameras everywhere. Doors are locked everywhere.
Wow.
So, the security on keeping
it's like
them
a prison. Sounds like a prison.
It is a prison. It is a prison. And it's a prison in America. It's a prison in England. It's a prison in Australia. And a lot of people that arrive in this prison are the children that joined at 10, 12 years old and then didn't do well. So they're sent for punishment into these prison systems. And basically, more like a thought reform camp. Yes, you're under guard and everything, and it is a prison, but you're meant to be there until your thoughts are better, until you're thinking like the group wants you to think. So I had this one friend of mine who more recently than I came out of the organization. He had an experience in the Rehabilitation Project Force. He had been kept in there for 7 years. 7 years. That's like, I mean, don't manslaughter people get 7 years?
It's almost like your soul would die in something. You know what I mean? For me, it's amazing that people can even find hope and find that inner strength to even get out of it if they're in a camp like that long.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And this individual said, oh, it was okay because it wasn't really like a prison because I could have left at any time. And I messaged him privately, and I said, I don't know what RPF you were in, but I could never leave when I wanted to. And he thought a bit, and he wrote back, and he said, yeah, there was that time those 3 guys tackled me when I wanted to leave. And then he listed a litany of these various times that he wanted to leave but was physically prevented from leaving. And it is physical prevention. It's not all this, oh, they just have you there because you're brainwashed or something. No, there's also the physical of it and the threat of, as Asta-i so clearly described, your entire family is held hostage. If you ever want to see your family again, you got to do the program.
Does Child Protective Services try to help these kids or
not?
That's
a good question.
Okay, Child Protective comes back into their espionage networks.
They've got people in there.
Pardon?
They've got people within Child Protective Services.
They have it covered. That's what they would call it. We have that covered, which means either somebody's in there or they have a tap on their phones or whatever. But I ran the daycare center. I was in charge of, building code violations up the yin-yang. We're talking on an international basis. Yet every time the Board of Health or the Child Protective Agency was coming, they would know about it. Usually 48 hours in advance. And they'd do this quick cleanup and add more staff if it was the child care organization, so it would look like it was up to code. And the same with the buildings. And when they had the prison camp in the garage at the main building in Florida, it was housed within this car garage, but with just plywood to make kind of walls. No one would imagine that there's 40 people living on the other side of this plywood. So when the health
it looked just like a regular garage. There was nothing to even.
Like a regular garage, and when they knew the health inspectors were coming, they would clean everybody out of that area, and they'd put all these old mattresses up around the doorways. So the inspectors would go by, and the people giving them the tour would just say, oh, yeah, that's just storage. Now, who is going to think 40 people are stuck living inside that place?
Good grief. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say about that. That is, what are the sanitary conditions in there?
Horrific. The children in Los Angeles constantly had lice. This is one of the reasons why they do not allow small children in the C organization anymore, because, babies have died. Children have died. The conditions not only for the education, but cleanliness and hygiene and, changing of diapers or whatnot.
Good grief. That just makes my stomach roil. Nancy, open forum part begins because we want everybody to be able to tell their stories.
Oh yes, absolutely. Please don't take that as trying to not hear what you have to say. We're very interested in what you have to say, but we do have a limited amount of time, and we have X number of people that are part of the show.
Right. Well, Nancy is unmuted right now, so here we go.
Nancy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
But we do have to go to Nancy. But I'm sitting here listening to you, listening to your story, and it's intriguing to me, and it literally tugs at me. And I thank you for sharing all that. That is just incredible, and that's meant obviously not in a good way. It's meant that that's a very, very intriguing and very interesting segue about the Social Security and disability. There's so much. I know there is so much that you have to say, and I wish we had time to go so deep into this, because I see how emotional it is for you, and I see how it has affected your life. And Deborah, I believe you had a show note about this.
I do. What we're doing in this first segment is to move the stories as fast as we can, and so we're not trying to be rude if we sort of move it into the next segment, but it's just that at about 8:30 my time, about an hour from now, everything will open up and we'll have more of an open forum so we can dig deeper into this stuff. And so we also are not taking calls until that.
It's unbelievable. Hang on a second there, if you will. Nancy Maney is also with us. There's a bunch of people here today. Nancy Maney is with us, and she's the author of My Billion-Year Contract, the memoir of a former Scientologist, which offers a bird's-eye view into the very secret aspects of the Scientology organization.